How much does it cost to build a barndominium? That's the topic for today. It's the burning question whenever anyone calls a builder. And today we would like to spend a little bit of time going over why it's so hard to get that answer out of a builder and what can we do to really get the answer to what we're actually looking for. What do we really want to know when we ask that question, and how can we get a realistic budget before we spend any time or money on plans?
My name is Jeremy Melancon, co-founder of Turnkey Custom Homes. In 2016, I set out to build a home on some land. After failing to find a builder to help me understand the process, Turnkey was born and we were new builders. Fast forward past a lot of hard lessons, long hours, and adventure-like stories, we took our side hustle to a 7-figure business where we get to show up every day and work together with our friends and family to build beautiful custom homes. This series was created to pull back the curtain and go behind the scenes of home building and give us a chance to have an open conversation about how clients and builders can work together to achieve their goals. Let's begin to build.
All right, so for the most common question we get as a builder from the first phone call normally, how much does it cost to build a barndominium? This is where your builder starts either giving you this pitch that comes around the question that doesn't really answer it, or maybe they start getting kind of uneasy or throwing disclaimers out. And at that point, you are prepared to say, hey, I know that there are a lot of variables to tend with. I know that there's a lot that goes into it, but hey, you do this all the time. I'm just looking for a ballpark number. And the most famous part, I won't hold you to it, right? So you make your builder feel a little more comfortable, and they spit out $150 a square foot. Okay, so before we jump into what that does mean, what that doesn't mean, why you don't feel great after you finish having the conversation, let me throw a disclaimer out there. We have another episode where we talk about different types of builders. So there's production builders, there's semi-custom builders, and they're full-on custom builders. For the focus of this conversation today, we are talking about custom homes. If you talk to, if you go in and compare a production home that's going to be built in a subdivision, they have a very good idea of what that house costs. It's more of buying a product than it is to buying or to engaging in a service. A custom home is a service. That's something we go over in more detail in that video, so be sure to check it out. But let's get back into what that $150 square foot number does mean or doesn't mean. Base price, right? Let's just assume whether you've been finding $100 a square foot or $200 a square foot or $150 sounds crazy or whatever it is. Let's just use it for simple math. That $150 a square foot, and what does it mean as far as a base price? Because sometimes that's what builders will attempt to do. We are trying to solve this question. Please hear me when I say we want to answer this question. We are not trying to evade the question. We're not trying to lock you into some contract that you can't get out of or come into a meeting or anything like that. We want to answer the question. We just want to give you an answer that's actually valuable, and that's where it turns into a tough chore. So the way some builders will go at it is, look, we start at $150 a square foot, and here are our base features. And maybe that means, hey, the house is finished and you could live in it, and we've got, half a page of general things. The problem is a custom home is not that general, but they don't have a good way to answer this question, so we're just kind of getting there until we do. Another issue is you can sign up for all of these things at $150 a square foot and then get an actual price back in that's either different when you sign the contract, like it, hey, we went out and got quotes and we know this is going to be different, or different when you start building. Hey, I signed a contract on $150 a square foot, I moved forward and it started changing rapidly on me. What happened? So these are some things. But let's just pause real quick on the base price and say we all know what that base price is. Say a base price on a 2,000 square foot house is $150 a square foot. That's $300,000. Great. Let's start there. But remember, we only do square footage based on the HVAC square footage or the livable square footage most of the time. That's what, if you kind of average these phone calls out, that's what people are talking about. 2,000 square foot of living, $150 a square foot, that's $300,000. Well, then barndominiums throw a whole another unique thing in where a lot of these homes that we're building have larger shops than they do houses. So say you match that 2,000 square foot HVAC with a 2,000 square foot shop and a front porch that's pretty over the door, but then a large back patio area. And that's another 1,000 square feet. So now we've got 3,000 square feet. So if we could build that 2,000 square foot house with maybe a little porch over the front and the back door for $150 a square foot at $300,000, well, we can't feasibly build the same price for that 5,000 square foot home under roof. Well, everybody understands that. That makes perfect sense. So maybe a builder tries to start breaking down that $150 a square foot for the inside, but $50 a square foot for the outside. Again, just keeping math. Don't come at me with daggers over prices too low or too high or whatever. But $50 a square foot for porches, shops, things like this. Okay, well, a porch might have some soffitting and a light fixture. Then again, it may have a full-blown solid fir truss that's stained and finished. May have truss plates. May have pendant lights. The shop, oh my gosh, the shop could be just metal purlin and metal sheeting and it's done. You may have $12,000 worth of overhead insulated doors in your shop, whereas someone else has a little golf cart roll-up door, whereas it's a $1,500 door versus a $15,000 door, but it's still on the same 2,000 square foot shop. Maybe you want electrical in your shop. If you want electrical in your shop, do you want it ran in MC cable where it's faster for the electrician, doesn't cost them as much, or where they bend all the conduit and then pull all the wire, where you have a nice, commercial application with straight lines and it's done to code and it's done right and it looks good. Not saying MC cable's not done to code or not right, but maybe the conduit's what you want. We wouldn't expect the electrician to do both of those things for the same price. Do you want no insulation? Do you want white vinyl insulation? Do you want spray foam insulation? Is it open cell? Is it closed cell? Is it a hybrid model from both of them? These square footage numbers can be all over the board. And from my experience, if a builder shoots you a really low square footage number, he really needs that second phone call. If he shoots you a really high square footage number, maybe he's got a lot of phone calls, and that's his way of slowing them down a little bit. Okay, if I'm going to shoot them a $300 square foot number and they call back, they've made it through the first hurdle, right? So these can also come into factor, which dilutes how valuable the information is to the homeowner. And that's what we're trying to solve today, is something for the homeowner to really be able to move forward with, because that's what you're looking for. You're looking for, how do I get to the next step? Well, let me call and ask about prices and see if I can get to the next step. And it's not really getting most homeowners there, which is why they're calling 4, 5, 6 builders trying to figure out this information, in my opinion. So let's focus on how a custom home price is built, how you get your proposal. Basically, it's how much are we building and what quality are we building it to. So how many yards of concrete do you need to pour your slab? If it's a 1,000 square foot slab versus a 2,000 square foot slab, chances are you're going to need about double the yardage of concrete, just simple math, right? That yard of concrete's not going to cost any more than the 2 yards of concrete. It's going to cost double because you got more concrete, but per yard it doesn't cost any more. So how much of something are you using? How much concrete are you using? How many studs are you using? How many can lights do you have? How many, square foot of insulation is there sprayed on the walls, right? So how much of something are we using? Then you take it to the contractors. How many yards of concrete are they having to work and pour, and how long is that going to take them? How long is it going to take them to finish it? How many studs do they have to nail together? So the more work they have to do, the longer it takes them out there. Most of your tradesmen are working off of billable hours. So the longer it takes them to do something, the more that they charge you to do it. And the more that they're going to do, the longer it's going to take them to do it normally. Okay. And then we shift from the how much are you getting to what quality are you getting. You can, and this kind of goes into what's in that base price, So if a builder is using number 3 studs, that's fine as long as you know about it and that's what you want. Those studs may have some bows in them. There may be some crooked walls a little bit when you get done. Maybe a number 2 stud kind of, it has less. But then a standard and better stud, a fir stud, they're usually straighter. We don't have to cull as many, and we can go, we can go through there and use less labor, build faster, because we don't have to have a guy over there on the lumber pile culling lumber all day. And if you don't cull lumber, you're going to have crooked walls with a number 3 or number 2. And is that something that you're okay with? Maybe the answer is yes. But that standard and better fir stud is going to cost more than that number 3 stud is. So it's the quality of materials. If you want to use, let's say, pre-finished, prefabricated cabinets, or just prefabricated cabinets, they don't even have to be finished. They're going to be a certain price when you look at your cabinet bid. Now, your paint bid's probably going to go up because someone has to finish them. But then you look at a pre-finished, prefabricated product that is ready to go. It takes 1 day to install, so your how much labor is gone down, but you're paying the shop labor. But maybe there is a better price on that pre-finished, prefabricated cabinet. Now, maybe one pre-finished, prefabricated cabinet is an MDF box, and the other one's a solid wood box. What is the difference in price there? But then we get into site-built cabinets where we have a carpenter come in and build your cabinets on site. What's he building them out of? Is he building them out of paint grade material, where maybe he's getting $40 to $60 a sheet of plywood? Or do you want solid wood knotty alder cabinets? Maybe knotty alders running $100 a sheet of plywood. That can double the plywood costs in your cabinets alone just to go from paint grade to knotty alder. There's species of wood out there that we could have shipped in from all over the world. Well, I don't know what they cost yet until we get a quote on how much we need and then what selection we're going with. A paint grade door from a cabinet shop may be one price, where a knotty alder door may be a different price. A shaker style door may be different than a raised panel door. Now, I understand that we're getting real down in the nitty gritty details of your home at this point, and maybe we don't need that for a general pricing conversation. But ultimately, those are the things that can skew you up or down from that base price that you talked about. Drawer guides, soft close drawer guides may be $25, whereas regular drawer guides may be $15. Well, if you have 50 drawers in your house at $10 a piece, that's $500 just in how your drawers close. So there's a lot of detail that goes into your home, and that's what ultimately it will cost. It will cost how much you are doing and what quality you are doing it at. But that's a final number. That's retroactive. What we're really looking for is, what's it going to cost me before I start? How can I get started? Now, before we jump into our process, another episode that we've done is cost plus versus fixed price. So even when you get that final number, are you getting one big number and you're not sure how much is going to material, how much is going to labor, how much the builder's costing, and that's perfectly fine. It's a fixed fee, or it's a fixed price project. Or is it a cost plus project where every line item is broken down? And then how well are those line items broken down? Do you have 10 real big round numbers and a fee at the bottom? Or do you have 65 numbers that are all broken out with the quotes supporting them, and they're the actual numbers that the builder got from the supplier or the craftsman? And what's it taken to get that? So our process that we go through to try to get this detailed estimate that you can actually start building from is, we need a good set of construction drawings and we need a good set of specs. The construction drawings or the architectural drawings, they show us what the house is going to look like. They show us the linear feet of cabinets. They show us the height of the cabinets, maybe even the style. They do not show us what the cabinets are made out of. That's something that you get from the specs and selections document. So the specifications, that's where you outline what types of studs you're getting. If you're getting 3,000 PSI concrete or 3,500 PSI concrete, or if you're getting maple or knotty alder or paint grade or whatever it is on your cabinets, right? What type of trim, doors, etc. Those are all in the specifications, which is just as much detail as the plans are. But most architectural plans don't come with a foundation design, so maybe that comes from an engineer. A structural engineer will tell us what size rebar, whether it's post-tension, what size piers, how deep they need to go. But how do they know how deep they need to go if we don't first get a soils report that tests the soil, see where our load-bearing strata is, where we really need to be on this slab, and how it needs to be designed? But all of that is what we need to get you the final quote, the actual price that it's going to take to build your home. But you know that it's going to take time and money to get those drawings, to get those specs, to get those engineered plans, to get the soils report, maybe a survey. All of these things could possibly cost money and time. So back to the I don't know where to start because I need a general price. I need a ballpark price. I've called everyone. I get $150 a square foot, but then this guy's saying it includes this. This guy's saying it doesn't include this. I'm getting $100 a square foot. I'm getting $300 a square foot. What do I do? So what our process is before we ever sit down in that design meeting, the first consultation is a strategy consultation where we may know what it costs square footage wise. And that's where this $150 square foot number or whatever square footage number you're getting, that's why it's so prevalent in the industry. It is how most of your contractors are going to charge. Your framer is probably going to charge a square footage number to build your house. Maybe it's $6 a square foot or $7 a square foot or more, depending on the detail of your home. But we have a general idea of how much it's going to cost to build that home. We have a general idea of what a yard of concrete is going to cost and how many yards we're going to need. We have a general idea of what it runs a square foot to run electrical. But maybe you want electrical in your house only. Maybe you want electrical in your house and your shop. Maybe you only want plumbing in the house. Maybe you only want spray foam insulation in the house and you want vinyl backed insulation in the shop. If we go through at least a good idea of the phases, this takes a while. There's a lot to building a house. So let's hypothetically build it together in a meeting. And then we go through all of these details. Well, how big of a house are you talking about building? Okay, what all do you want concrete? Maybe you want a covered area to park implements or tractors or dozers or something like that, and you don't need it to have concrete. Well, then it needs the square footage price of the steel building. It needs the square footage price of the erectors. It does not need the square footage price of the concrete. It may need the building pad because you want it level under there, or maybe you want to add some rock, but we only do it for that square footage. So if we can break down each thing that you want in your home. If you want a fireplace, great. Maybe it costs $5,000, just a general ballpark number. Or you don't want a fireplace. I don't want that in my general number. I don't want it in that ballpark price. So it takes a minute, but let's sit down with a builder and go through really what you want. Not, hey, I want a 2,000 square foot house and I want to keep it pretty simple. No, that's going to get you another square footage number that you don't have anything to do with, you can't do anything with. Let's sit down and really go through the goals and the wants and the needs of what you would like in your home, and then we can generalize those square footage numbers. Now, we have done some real research. We've done some real planning together on what this house is going to cost and what you do or don't want in it, and then we can generalize that budget, make sure we're on the same page before you ever spend any time or money in design, before you spend any time or money with engineers or soils reports or just going and meeting with 10 builders. You know, that, how much time does that take? How many weekends do you spend driving around and talking to builders? So if we can sit down and come up with this general idea of what you want and general idea of what we think it's going to cost, and if you disagree with one of the line items, let's adjust it to what we can both kind of get on the same page about. Or if you say, well, hey, okay, if you say it costs that much, I believe you. Let's just scratch it. I don't want it that bad. Let's kind of look at that from a hypothetical approach before we ever go in design, and that will arm you with a more detailed amount of information to get started, and it kind of clears up those next steps. That's something that you can take to multiple builders and kind of compare. Look, let's go through these details together like I did with the other builder, and let's see what these budgets are if you want to compare those. It's something that maybe you go and talk to your lender about to make sure that everything's good before you start down design, before you spend that money. So it answers a lot of different things. Maybe this size house was a little bit out of your budget, and we're all on the same page, so maybe we figure we can get away with a little bit smaller house, and we start in design, and when it comes out, we love it. It's got everything that we wanted. We didn't know that we could fit everything we wanted. We wanted a 2,000 square foot house. We designed an 1,800 per the budget. One thing was a little tight, so we stretched it to 1,875, and here we are in our budget, in a home that we love, and we can move forward, and everyone's happy. This is a free service that we provide. We don't charge anything for this. We can do it in person. We can do it on Zoom. It helps you get started, or it can possibly help you get started. It gets much better information from builders when you call us. If you're interested in it, check us out on our website, builtbyturnkey.com. If you want to just shoot us a direct email, that's strategy@builtbyturnkey.com. And I really hope this gave you just some kind of value on how these prices are put together and what it really takes. And if you need any help, please reach out to us, and we could at least point you in the right direction. All right, until then, let's begin to build.